Naked and Afraid Season 18 Episode 9 Review. Hey good people, and welcome back to the channel. If I had to rate this episode of Naked and Afraid on a scale of 1 to 10, I will give it a solid 9. I know that I had said that the previous episode of Naked and Afraid was my favorite for the season, but this episode definitely exceeded my expectations. What was unique about this episode was that it brought back 3 survivalists who had completed fan challenges from the previous seasons of Naked and Afraid, and these survivalists now have to complete a 21-day challenge in Belize. However, production definitely didn't do these survivalists any favors in this challenge. The survivalists for this challenge were John, Omar, and Malu. I remember seeing John's fan challenge when it came out, and I was incredibly motivated by his backstory and his will to make it to the end of his respective challenge. I definitely remember seeing Omar's fan challenge, because he was paired with a partner who was one of the most annoying and insufferable people to ever appear on Naked and Afraid, and that's saying a lot. In that challenge, Omar essentially separated himself from his partner and constructed a separate shelter where he completed the challenge in peace. If I had been paired with that partner, I would have definitely tapped out on general principle very early on, but Omar did what he had to do to complete the challenge. And then there's Malu. YouTube doesn't have a lot of folks who review Naked and Afraid, so Malu has my respect for not only covering the show, but having the courage to actually do a challenge. I don't know if Naked and Afraid could pay me enough to be in the jungle for 2 to 3 weeks, naked, starving, and trying to avoid deadly creatures, all for bragging rights. Nevertheless, when I saw Malu's fan challenge, she got on my nerves within the first 5 minutes, but I also understand that it's her personality, and not everybody meshes well together. But she completed her 14-day challenge, and I was proud of her for doing so. Now heading into this challenge, I really didn't have any concerns for the survivalists and their ability to work as a team. I suspected that Malu's personality might have been a little too much for Omar and John over the 21-day stretch, but I also felt that Malu developed some self-awareness from how fans reacted to her first Naked and Afraid fan challenge. So when I said that production did these survivalists no favors when it came to the challenge location, I truly mean that whoever the powers that be are did these survivalists pretty dirty when they picked this location for the challenge. After John, Omar, and Malu meet, they hike 4 miles over sharp rocks, thorns, and elevated terrain to their camping site. During their migration, it starts to storm, which drenches everything around the camping site. Luckily, Malu brought duct tape with her as her survival item, which the survivalists used to burn for their fire. But the camping site was nowhere near fresh water, and by the time they made it to the camping site, they only had 2 hours to build the shelter. From the way the episode was edited, the survivalists weren't shown getting anything to drink until the next day, which truly sucks after walking 4 miles, then having to build a shelter. And even though John brought a mosquito net as a survival item, the mosquitoes were very persistent and they found their way into the shelter and attacked everybody there. Now things went from bad to worse for these survivalists. It constantly rained through the first several days in the challenge. Omar threw his back out, which sucked because about 6 months ago, I threw my back out while trying to move furniture up a flight of stairs, and it took me 2 weeks to get back to normal. But Malu had to tap out because her father was in the hospital and she wanted to be with him, which I completely understood, and I wish Malu and her family nothing but the best. When Malu leaves, Omar tries to contribute to the team any way that he can, but John has to do most of the heavy lifting, and aside from the team getting a small turtle and some cocoon nuts to eat, both Omar and John constantly question whether they can make it to the end of the challenge. But something unexpected happens. A new survivalist named Denny comes into the mix on day 7 to complete a 14-day fan challenge. Denny joining the group was a huge game changer for the team. She came in ready to help any way that she could. She was responsible for helping make upgrades to the shelter and getting food for her team. Her arrival and contribution certainly helped the team make it to the extraction day. But there's one more issue. In order to make it to the extraction point, the survivalists have to hike 5 miles up the mountain. Like I previously said, production did these survivalists no favors, especially with them having barely eaten anything in 3 weeks. But Omar, John, and Denny all push each other to make it to the extraction point, and I'm willing to bet that they will become lifelong friends after this episode. Now to me, this episode is my favorite for the season for several reasons. While I've repeatedly chided production for making this challenge hard for the survivalists, I would much rather see survivalists overcome obstacles and earn their place among the great Naked and Afraid cast members versus taking a trip down Easy Street, where survivalists have low maintenance shelters and can find random fruit on the ground that can hold them for 3 weeks. I also appreciated that this episode had no unnecessary drama or constant bickering between the cast members. These survivalists supported one another, and it felt like they were all in it together. When times got rough, they all came together instead of becoming divided. And lastly, it is my opinion that this episode was a very inspirational one, and it might be an episode that might encourage a lot more people to participate in Naked and Afraid. So that's my final thoughts on the survivalists for this episode. I think that Malou deserves to come back to do another 21-day challenge. If anything, she could use the love of her father as motivation for completing the challenge. I think that Denny is more than ready to complete her own 21-day challenge, because she came to this challenge hitting the ground and immediately running. I believe that if John and Omar decide to come back, they would do great in an XL challenge. After all, if they can survive this environment, they should be able to survive any environment. But this marks the end of my review. If you have any questions or comments related to the review or the episode, feel free to leave them below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to reply to everybody. Until next time, stay tuned and stay safe.